Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode number 327 of the Comic Watchers Show. He's Chad, I'm Matt, and this is our show where we talk about some comics. Chad, how are you doing this week, sir? Okay.
I'm fine! How are you, Matt?
I'm wonderful, Chad. Thank you very much. So,
sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nerd.
I was sorry. I forgot to prepare my memes for the speech that I didn't watch tonight.
On episode 327, you couldn't get the memes together ahead of time. That's such a historic number. You know, it's a very well-loved number, you know.
Yes. Oh, man.
They'll play well tomorrow anyway. So anyway.
Anywho, Chad, now you look like you're on green screen, which I love.
We're in my I'm in my son's soon-to-be playroom, and that's the color he wanted. So.
Hell yeah. Power to the kid. So our guest this week is writer and creator Travis Heimel, and he is here to talk to us about his Kickstarter, which just started on July 14th. Start your engines! Travis.
Yep, thank you.
Sir.
I'm the occasional voice of Chad, apparently. When his mic is working.
Once upon a time, Chad had a Muppet/puppet of himself. And I thought that that's what that was the puppet making a return appearance.
A chuppet?
There it is.
Oh, my God.
It's glorious.
It really is. Oh, no.
All right. It's all right.
I'm sorry, we're probably going off the rails already. But it's like every time I see like just the Superman T-shirt, my mind goes to Goonies though. Instead, it doesn't look like Sloth at all. But that's where like my mind went.
Well,
dig that. So, Travis, comic.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a whirlwind, you all. Like it's so yeah. Start Your Engines live on Kickstarter. I wrote, I drew, I colored it. I'm assisted with letters by letters by Sean De Pascal and my editor is Dave Dwanch.
I'm sorry.
We like Dave. Don't be rude.
You know, everyone has to have that little joke about Dave when they do realize it's like, oh, we have a mutual connection. I better say something awful about him because he really is a character.
He's a great guy.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. And I worked with both of those guys before. I worked with Sean on Trailer Park Boys and a few like indie projects like Arc World. It's also like was a Devil's Due book, and he worked as an editor on those titles, but he also like is a letterer. He wears multiple hats, and so does Dave. You know, Dave's been an editor, writer, artist, and letterer as well. So I like to kind of fill out. I wanted to fill out the rest of the team with like people who like really at least could like really elevate what I was trying to do. So
yeah, people that are passionate.
Happy to have them all.
So before we get ready to start our engines, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your comic book journey as a reader and creator?
So I when I guess starting out as a reader, I didn't really read comics as much because I couldn't read yet. My mom would just buy them because I like to flip through and look at the pretty pictures, essentially. But like I would just have a collection of comic books I couldn't read yet, mostly held together by like Scotch tape and stuff like that. But then like as I got older, I could read them. But during that time, I would love to like make my own comics or take notebooks. Each page in the notebook would be my comic book page. So like I always had a love for drawing and comics like from a young age. And then when you got a little older, and maybe it was because it's like, and this is in the 90s, and it's like that prime like Image time, like where people, or not even Image, like Marvel, where people know like certain artists and writers like celebrities kind of. And I was like, oh, my mom was like kind of paying attention. She's like, oh, see, you could get a job like that. And it's like, oh, cool. It does be really easy. That's that's the path I'll go. Then like you grow up and realize, oh, this might not be as easy as I thought it was. And then I'd still pursued art and actually went down more of a graphic design path. And then like took up comics as a hobby like about 13 years ago, like making comics and like working on anthologies, and it kind of like snowballed from there to eventually I started getting like work from it, like word of mouth. And then like it was just like some work on the anthologies kind of caught on for like a pitch for a book, and then snowballed from there.
Okay, that's awesome. So you were a kid in the 90s. Does that mean that you are a fan of like the Image creators and their creator-owned revolution that they kind of brought into the mainstream during that time? Is that something that's informed your sensibilities as a Kickstarter creator?
I'm gonna say no. I mean, I love that stuff, but what kind of informed me more so about it is more so like probably as I got older. And I kind of realized I kind of realize this now too, because I've worked on properties like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the Trailer Park Boys I mentioned. And one of the things I took away from that is that like you're kind of beholden to the license holder. You're beholden to whoever this property belongs to. You have to play by their rules. And what's nice about creator-owned stuff, and I'm sure the Image founders probably found this out, is that you could do whatever you want. You can do it with the kind of stories you want to do, and you can also like format it and like put it out to whatever you want, or whatever experience you want to give the reader.
Heck yeah.
That's kind of that. I didn't even really think about that much about like independent, like owning your own stuff, even at that time as a kid. And it didn't probably click until like, much older when I'm doing it, when I'm actually like working on some of these properties. And that's kind of like, I finished up some like a licensed property, like some work on one. And not too long after that, started Start Your Engines, because I was like, I really just want to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of, as I mentioned before, I don't want to keep playing with someone else's toys. I want to do it, play my way, essentially, with it.
Oh, then that let's segue into Start Your Engines. Why don't you give us like the big picture of the series, and we'll go from there. So, I mean,
well, the idea, I guess, of start at the main character, Dare Darrington. It follows Dare Darrington. This is very Saturday morning cartoons, very action adventure. And Dare Darrington is a very like Saturday like cartoony name to me. But anyway, Dare is a race car driver. I'm sorry, he's a stunt driver turned race car driver, and he's trying to like just figure out his role in this racing world. And his dad's a former racer, and he's was a legendary guy in the industry. And he unfortunately passed away, and Dare wanted to kind of like take that mantle back for his family. So he's racing again. And that's like the arching. I don't know how to say how to talk right now, but that's like the big picture there. But whenever I'm doing any of these Start Your Engines books, because I plan to do more, they're more like one and done kind of books. Like you can pick up, with each new book that I plan to put out. There's 2 stories in this first book, and it's going to be self-contained. I didn't want to do a big, long, like a mini series or anything that was good just build to a trade paperback. I just wanted to give the reader like a full experience. You have your beginning, middle, and end, and good. They digest it. Be a nice like palate cleanser to other comics you might read. But going back to the main story, but all these books is going to follow Dare and his crew as they go on like different adventures, not just like all his races, but various adventures that he gets in it's like the first story in this book involves him during a race, but unknown to him, there's a saboteur during the race. And then in the second story, it picks up right where the first story leaves off and kind of moves quickly into a dinosaur adventure. You know, there's
awesome.
yeah.
Dinosaurs
Like I
make
said,
everything better.
Yeah, like they do. Like chicken nuggets, you know, they instantly taste better. It's scientifically proven. But you know that it's like I keep saying about Saturday morning cartoon shows. Like that's very much like the approach I had to these stories. You know, it's just meant to be like just fun, like a popcorn movie, is what I kind of describe it to people. You know.
Right on.
Does the car talk with a speech impediment too?
No. Unless he unless I pull something where he bumps his head and he wakes up in a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
I mean, you could do that route.
Yeah.
You could do the Knight Rider route.
It's gonna be like 3 years later, and I'm gonna promote the next book, and I'm not gonna credit Chad at all when that exact thing happens in the book. Son of a bitch! Like,
wouldn't be the first time.
I'm gonna say it did happen to me one time.
Did it really?
It did. Well, this could be complete coincidence, but yeah. But so many moons ago, when you could still send open submissions to Marvel, so circa 2000, I sent in a submission to Marvel that had to do with the Hulk grappling with not one but multiple aspects of the Hulk's personality. You know, Green Professor Hulk, yeah, Gray Hulk, et cetera, all at once. Well, I never heard back from Marvel, but something like 7 or 8 months later, Paul Jenkins takes over as the writer on Hulk, and guess what the plot was? And I'm not saying Paul Jenkins ripped me off, but some editor sure as hell saw my submission and thought it was a good idea. Anyway, that's my mini claim to fame.
I mean, that would burn me to my core as well. But you know, I would also laugh
about it now.
Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious. But I would tell myself, well, you know, if it was me, like, you know, I've had a few things where it's like almost similar like ideas, but sometimes you have to chalk it up to like parallel thinking. But then you do wonder how many people are actually looking at those piles of submissions sometimes. You know, that's what I used to wonder about, even just, you know, as an artist, when you're trying to get work, you know, and there's not a lot of publishers that really do like a lot of submission packets anymore. They might say they do some. There's like 2 publishers that I know of. I know like from what I was told fairly recently, Image definitely looks at stuff and Mad Cave does. But like, you know, does make you wonder who's actually looking at things. But or like, you know, even if I was just trying to get work as an artist, like I don't know if that goes anywhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a fun thing when you bring up like the submission thing. It's not really such a thing anymore. You know?
No, it's not. You just have to get your art out there on Instagram or whatever the kids call it now.
Yeah,
and kind of just hope for the best.
You know, and that's kind of like, you know, the approach for things like with me, which I hate posting on social media. I really do. But it's kind of like the necessity now, and it's the most direct way to do the, you know, to generate a fan base.
Yeah.
You know, but probably what you guys experienced, like, you know, well, your site and YouTube, and then me with the Kickstarter, like, you know, it's crowdfunding, but you have to build your crowd. You have to sell
right.
to
You
a
can't
crowd.
just look for a crowd to materialize.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's probably a thing of, you know, people like, you know, walk-ins off the street type of deal. Like they'll find the project, but you have to have that like small base, you know.
Exactly.
And yeah. Sorry if I got us off the track. No pun intended.
Happens all the time.
So, besides Saturday morning cartoon, are you a race fan or anything like that? As to why you wanted to set it, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a big like racing fan like NASCAR or Formula One or anything. It's the odd thing. I I really actually love the designs of the vehicles, like a lot of cars. I think it's a really cool, like I also do love the romanticized versions of racing, like in movies. Ford versus Ferrari, Days of Thunder. But like I said, these Hollywood romanticized versions of that. Like those stories were kind of an influence and kind of pushed me towards that. Also, I guess I'm very much a man child. I still love Hot Wheels. Like, and that aspect of like, building tracks when I was a kid, or setting up little ramps and stuff hasn't left me. That's always fun. And I guess that's the main thing I was kind of looking to do with those cars, like kind of like just taking that concept, mixing it with the cartoon show, and just making something like that's pure fun. But
Awesome.
yeah, I hate to disappoint people who are race fans out there. But I do appreciate the cars. And that's like, for instance, like the car for Start Your Engines, that was kind of like a mix between like, a little bit of NASCAR, a little bit of like some 60s inspired designs that like I kind of made a Pinterest board of, and then like 10% 89 Batman Batmobile, a little bit of that, because it has the like the cockpit that slides forward. Even it looks like, if you look at like one of the images like straight on, you'll see it has that little bit of that vibe.
So should we be expecting like issue 4 or 5 that Dan has to learn how to turn right?
No. Oh man. No, he's a former stunt driver. He can handle it all.
So, all seriousness. How did you go about creating the character so you kind of avoided, what's established, like, Speed Racer and stuff like that?
I kind of, when I was building this originally, it was a love letter to like different things I liked. I like Johnny Quest. I like Speed Racer. And this, just so you know, I started this before Mad Cave had the license, and I'll get back on track in a second. But I did show my portfolio to Mad Cave, an editor at the time, and the editor was taking a look. And really, actually, I had some early pages from Start Your Engines in it. And the editor goes, "Oh, very interesting." And it's like, "What is this?" And I told him, "What I just told you guys." And the editor was like, "Ah, interesting. We might be doing something like like a car racing thing. So if you like, because sometimes when these editors hear this, like there's like, I can't hear the pitch kind of thing, like But the way you say, yeah, we have something similar. Yeah, something very similar works. But I'm gonna keep you in mind." For something down the road, And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then
they stole your story.
Yeah. Oh no! It's not even close to the same thing. Like 3 months later, Speed Racer. Yeah. So I had the same moment. I was like, "Ha! See, they decided to get Speed Racer because of me." But no, they had to, just with the timing of it. But funny enough, I ended up doing a short for Speed Racer that came out this year, and that was because of those early Start Your Engines pages. Like, but going back to how I was kind of like coming up with this, it was intentionally trying to be an amalgamation of those things. And then so I was trying to take that adventure aspect, because it's not even just Speed Racer and Johnny Quest. There's also a little mix of like we talked about, dinosaurs, Cadillacs and dinosaurs. If you're familiar with Mark Schultz or Xenozoic Tales,
I know of it.
Okay, so Mark Schultz, incredible artist, and when he originally released this series, it's like this post-apocalyptic world with dinosaurs and Cadillacs, and I don't know the full story probably, but behind the title, but it was called Xenozoic Tales, and then eventually it became that like a cartoon. And it's like, what are kids gonna know? I don't think a kid's gonna know, or grandma is gonna know, a Xenozoic Tales, that they have to buy a toy off the shelf. We'll make it Cadillacs and dinosaurs. That's it. And then,
Excellent move.
But anyway, that's that's a little part of it. I also am a huge Alex Toth fan, and one of the bigger inspirations for Start Your Engines was like Bravo for Adventure, which follows Alex Toth's character of Jesse Bravo in like the 1930s. Pilot. It in completely different thing. Like it's not racing or anything like that. But that book really did inspire that. So I was trying to like make this love letter, this amalgamation of things, and that's what Start Your Engines became.
How do you mix and match these elements together in a way that feels organic and like one factor or element isn't stepping over the others or something like that? How do you make it feel natural?
Well, like for these stories, because it is a challenge, and like I do like for me when I write, I kind of just map out those issues, and like there's a lot of ideas I might have, and when they, like you're saying, when they kind of do overlap, which they do, you kind of had to decide for the sake of the story and the reader, at least for me, for the sake of them understanding, be able to follow along, like what's going to be left in and what's not. So like I don't want to like spoil too much like for people who are going to be reading the book, but like like for the dinosaur part of it, it was like, all right, so how crazy am I going to have like a scientific explanation? Is there going to be some bad guy, mastermind plot who is always after Dare for for something, and what why is this happening to him now? Like I had to streamline it and make it feel more natural. Like kind of like what you were saying, like how do you do that? Well, I just kind of had to like again, so many puns, put it into a roadmap and then figure it out from there. And it's almost like the same thing I would do with drawing. And what I mean by that is like I love doing like or trying out cool compositions or something that's going to be more engaging for readers.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you might have a cool idea, for a page, but it's just not going to work because it's either too distracting or obstructs the whole flow of the page.
Right.
You might be able to see it. Like one of the things, like, I had idea just to kind of make things a little bit more interesting. And you could see in the first couple pages that's up on the Kickstarter right now. But like Dare, he avoids, a car that just went a collision. It flies over the top of his car. And he thinks he's kind of escaped it, but the car's kind of wobbling and the tire blows out. And when the tire blows out, I decided to make like the whole panel be the sound effect of pop. So you have that, the tire exploding and then air billowing out, and just trying to thank you. But like something like that is to kind of just more engage and have, I keep saying fun, but like having like that fun of that and make it engaging for the reader. Because that's what I'm thinking about first, and the same goes for the story concepts that I'm picking. I want to make sure it's fun, but not too out there where it's distracting.
You talk about, excuse me. You talk about things like those visual cues and making it engaging for the reader, and of course, comics are an inherently visual medium overall. Do you find as a writer that you're already synthesizing the two things together, or do you tend to stage direct it or stage manage it more as a writer and then synthesize later on, or interpret later on as the artist?
For the script, I kind of write a full script for myself just to get like it out of my head. Just to kind of get out of my head. But I'll go and change a bunch of things once I go to the thumbnailing stage, because then I kind of see it a little bit better. I'm also like, I have like a ton of references for like cinematography books.
Oh,
and that's kind of like what I like to go back and use as a reference when I'm pulling those shots, because I might have a particular idea in mind when I'm writing the script. And once I kind of get that, get to the thumbnailing stage, I'm like, oh, something's just not working. Something's not engaging, or it doesn't tell the right information to the reader. So like, sometimes I fall in that to try and either change up what I was thinking, but a lot of it, and once you get to that thumbnail stage, I can kind of play around and push and pull things. And then, but then I guess the annoying part is I have to remember to change that in the script.
Right.
I've done it where I've handed stuff off, and this happened, actually for the first story for Start Your Engines, where I handed off the script and I forgot I changed like 3 panels. And Sean was just like, I have no clue what's going on here because this doesn't even match up anymore.
Oh no!
Because it happened in one particular section. I mentioned like the first story deals with a saboteur, and the saboteur is on the track with Dare. And I was originally, when I was writing this particular scene, there was just gonna be some narration from like a broadcaster, kind of calling the race. But I showed the broadcaster a few times, but I thought about bringing back to the broadcaster instead would be great, because originally I had no panels, and showing the broadcaster kind of lets the audience kind of know that reaction that that's like, oh my god, are you seeing what's going on right now? This guy almost died, he almost got hit by the other rival car. Like, what's going on out there? They kind of give those visual clues that even the broadcaster's kind of like frantic or not sure what's going on the track.
Well, it's also kind of I'm going to use the word cheap, but I don't mean that as a negative. It's kind of a cheap way to. I know, I'm cheap, but we'll say it's an easy way to get away with actually doing that narration of what the action on the page without it being pablum, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's always, and you all probably said it or hear all the time, like the show don't tell kind of thing. Like,
yes,
it does help. I mean, like in having some kind of anchor point for the audience in that particular scene is good. Again, I guess my style, and maybe it's not good style, because I know some writers don't like to think about like the reader. I've heard like movie writers, like screenwriters be like, I don't even think about the audience. I constantly think about not whether like the audience is going to love it or anything. I'm worried about understanding it. And if it's the clear, at least that point, that aspect is achieved, through the writing and then like the visual process of it. Because as soon as like me as a reader, as soon as I get like into the story, I don't want to hit a speed bump or anything like in that. I don't want to be taken out of it. I've had that where even like starting out when I was doing some of the like early work, either like in anthologies or like I mentioned Arc World. That was like my first thing where I was doing like full interiors that was like just me. There were definitely things, visual cues that I completely missed, and it was probably not helpful for the reader. So I kind of like, you do these projects and you do learn a little bit from every project as you go.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Oh, you would. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And Start Your Engines, one of the priorities for me when making this, like I had some personal goals for myself besides it being this love letter mashup thing, right? Was that I was going to work on things that I was weak at. And a couple of things was like, cars were number one. And the second was like drawing like female characters. I was like, a lot of the books I worked on, there was a lot of male characters in there, but like there wasn't a lot of like things to kind of learn and draw better. And then storytelling. That was one of my things. I wanted to make sure I was doing the best storytelling I could in this book.
Sure.
And I'm still constantly learning, but I think the storytelling was solid in this first story. And then going into the second, it's definitely, I think there's even going to be a slight shift in the strength of my storytelling, and hopefully it keeps going that way. That's the goal. Or lie to me and tell me, lie to me if you do read those future ones, be like, oh yeah, you're 100% right.
You plateaued. You fooled.
Yeah. Sure.
You're never going to work for Mad Cave.
Oh God.
I know, but in all seriousness, like, we love Mad Cave on this show. We've had a ton of creators from them, and they have nothing but super positive things to say.
Oh, it was great. I worked with because I did a short. It was Tales from the Road. It was their anthology book for Speed Racer, and it came out, I want to say, in January, with Derek Acosta, who which I was like, why did that name sound familiar? He was like Mega 64. He's a part of that group. You know, I guess if people like follow the like a Mega 64, there it might be a very niche thing. But anyway,
Must be.
I was familiar with it. It was really cool. It was a fun it was a fun villain kind of piece. It followed Dante Furno. I don't know if you keep up with Speed Racer or any of the current run from Mad Cave, but it follows Dante Furno and the lengths he would go to win a race.
Okay.
It was a very fun one. It was fun to play around. That was one, because of the time, it was a very last minute thing. Like the job was a very last minute thing. But that was one of these ones that I didn't have to do anything with the script or anything, like, you know, in terms of ideas. But, you know, I had a bunch of ideas of what to bring to the story. But I cut a bunch out because I was going too wild. For one, I didn't think the reader was going to get some of this stuff. It'd be too confusing because I thought about, like, you know, weaving the car, you know, the cars going through the panel. I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to have them weave around the panels. I was like, no, that's going to be too distracting.
It is. It does sound
in there. It does, but it just like when I mapped it out, I was like, oh, you know, it just
it might be
too much
for the reader to follow.
Yeah, and then also there's a time thing too. It's like, oh, that's more time I'm taking to make this page, and it's really got to get out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes because of time, you're gonna get to make those sacrifices on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to, well, as the saying goes, you've got to be willing to kill your darlings, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, so tell us more about the Kickstarter itself. Like, why go Kickstarter specifically as opposed to some of the other funding platforms?
You know, probably Kickstarter. If we're gonna talk about Kickstarter as a platform, I think it's like probably the best known platform and the best well-established platform. And why that's important is, and you know, I know there's other ones out there, but I think it's the most used one and most people are familiar with.
Yep.
A lot of people who or my audience is most likely already Kickstarter users, or they don't use crowdfunding at all. Is what I you know, at least, you know, thinking this through, because there's, you know, you have Indiegogo, you have Zoop, which they're all fun. They all, you know, relatively do the same thing, but I wanted to go something, especially for a first Kickstarter, to go with something a little bit more established, and also some of the tools that they have there. They some of it's like newer tools, but they just finally added like a new, like a pledge manager, which I like the aspect of not having to get like a third-party system like a backer kit or anything involved. I like the idea of like all in one. I feel like I'm a salesman for Kickstarter right now. Kickstarter, if you're listening, you know, give me some more stuff somehow. Yeah, I am to pat my own back, I am a project we love right now. I got that email, and that's really cool that you get that spotlight on the platform. But, you know, going back to why them specifically, it's just like they're the most well-known. It was the best bet for a first campaign for me.
Right. Okay,
you know,
so to clarify, this is your first campaign.
Yes, this is my first campaign. I also will say I've been a Kickstarter user for years. You know, I backed several campaigns over the year, mostly, for the most part, just comic book campaigns, because but that's what I'm familiar with. I've tried other platforms, and it's, you know, there's really not that much difference. But again, going back to it, I think it was the most solid choice. And then, you know, I'm not sure if this is a part of your question, but why like the crowdfunding aspect instead of like maybe going with a publisher or something like that? I think I thought a couple of things. One, like, you know, the way I was describing how I want to tell this story about Dare, you know, it's go follow Dare, the race car driver, and his various adventures. But the way I was going to take those, they're individual. I want to do individual books. I want to do individual stories. If I was taking this to a publisher, a lot of times it's more of a mini series. You build towards a trade paperback. That's been the trend and everything. So that was one thing right there. I also like the idea of not like European style comics where it's like the size, but like that prestige format where it's bound, because this is going to be a square bound book, cardstock covers. I wanted to at least make it feel like you're getting your money's worth, like a premium feel for that, especially being as a Kickstarter product. I want people to feel like they're getting their money's money's worth out of it. So yeah, that was kind of like the thinking behind it. And I did say that about the publisher thing. I just don't think it would work at a publisher, just the way I wanted to tell the story. I probably could do a mini series arc, but that's not what I want.
Right. Well, and you got to be true to your vision as a creator, or as much as the circumstances will allow anyway.
Yeah. And then I guess the other side is, because I work on other projects as well. Like right now I'm working on, I also work as an inker on occasion. Usually I only started doing like ink work for other artists in the last couple of years, but I've been working with Phil Hester the last couple of years. Yeah. So we're working on a book right now. I can't talk too much about like the book. It's good to come out through Ignition, but his it's good to be insane. His work is very inspiring to me, and actually like it's really helped me become like a better artist.
And say, if you're gonna work with somebody, you might as well learn from somebody like Phil freaking Hester.
100%. But what's nice is like working on this, I can still, between other gigs, that's the kind of the thing, I can still work on my own thing and keep that going. And that was how Start Your Engines also got, I was working on that. Unfortunately, like when I did like initially start, it was like, I forget what exact time in 2024, but I had some work come in and kind of put it off. And then I kind of told myself, you know what, this book has got to get out. And this was like at the start of the year. So I finished everything for the first story, moved on to the second story. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to plan the Kickstarter. So I've just been working on it. We're pretty much I'm in the ink phase right now for the last bit of the second story. And it's going to move to colors. And the print date I have now set on for the Kickstarter is for January. That's at the latest. I plan on starting to ship everything out. If I can get everything out, that's the goal too. If I can get everything out sooner, that's what I want. But I wanted to give myself that cushion too.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
But going in between like the projects, I wanted to have something that's mine to work on, and that's nothing original. I watch. I don't know about you all, but I do like listening to like interviews with other creators, and Sean Gordon Murphy was talking about how he was working on a couple different projects in between stuff when he was doing stuff at Vertigo years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be like a very obvious thing to think about, but then it kind of like made a light bulb go off. I was like, oh yeah, I should totally be working on something like 30 minutes at a time, an hour at a time, if I have nothing else going on, like to kind of take that and do something that's my own.
So, I mean, yeah, you got to work at a reasonable pace for yourself, but also and not overextend your reach, because readers will know if you have. It'll show in the final product.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can tell, when something might be rushed, and I've definitely done stuff under pressure too, because sometimes you got to just get it out the door.
You do.
That's the thing. Yeah. I've done a few projects in the last year where it's literally it's like something happened, we need help, can you do finishes on something? Sure. When do you need them? Well, can you do like 8 pages in like 3 days or something? Sure. Why not? Yeah. And it's sometimes it came out all right, but it's like that's just the nature of the beast sometimes. And it's like even the editor's like as good is fine. It doesn't have to be super pretty. We just need to get this out.
Listen, dude, Sal Buscema made an entire career out of being the guy that you could turn to at the 11th hour to get a job done, and he, eventually morphed into, or was a wonderful draftsman in his own right. So
Yeah.
There's always room for those talented creators out there.
Oh, for sure, and it's and also that kind of stuff's work, but in general, like it's just another job. But sometimes you have to make those sacrifices, or a different type of sacrifice. Not like you were talking about earlier, like the kill your darlings thing. This is more the expedient. It's like we just need to print this book.
Exactly. So, how much time does it take for you to get a story done? I mean, are they all pretty uniform in terms of length, or are they variable, or
they're two 24-page stories? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Sorry about that.
Fine.
No, I was just saying it's two 24-page stories, so they're both the same length. The book itself, so it's got 48 pages of story. The book itself is going to be 60. It's going to be like back matter stuff too.
Okay.
So some sketches. I think I might have mentioned this before with someone else. That's why it's in my head. But like one of my favorite things in a trade paperback was Invincible. I love Invincible. Mm-hmm. And I was buying the trade paperbacks kind of at a time like in the 2000s when I was getting back into comics. I kind of fell out of it for a while. And when I was getting back to it, and I was like, man, I don't know where to start. And someone was like, well, if you don't know where you start, but I keep seeing you look at superhero stuff, why don't you try like Invincible? Mm-hmm. And one of the things I loved at the end of it was that Robert Kirkman, Cory Walker, and then eventually Ryan Otley. Yeah. Ryan Otley. They would show like, some behind the scenes stuff, like either thumbnails or pencils or inks, and they would do commentary on it. I kind of want to do the similar thing with Start Your Engine.
Oh, I love Blu-ray bonus tracks or bonus materials. Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm very similar in that way. I love hearing the behind the scenes stuff when people like start to like actually like go into the nitty gritty. There's like a good podcast I've listened to before. It was I Was There Too. And it's I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast, but it would have, you have your podcast host, but they would get someone who's on like a set of a movie, and give you that background. So I'm gonna butcher his name, but David Dasmakian. Dasmakian. I'm sorry, David, because I know he's watching right now. I know he's watching.
He is.
Sorry. Definitely watching. But he was talking about Ant-Man and was like started talking about like how he was just messing with Paul Rudd the whole time. Like he's like he basically convinced Paul Rudd he was actually Russian. And
I've
like
heard
that
this story.
Yeah. But he's talked about that, is one of the stories. But he's also talked about like working with Jake Gyllenhaal in another movie. It's just like really like in these things about like, what's going through your head. Cause I can't remember the movie he was in with Jake Gyllenhaal, but it was like he was one of his first big things, and where his mind was at the time. But anyway, I think that's interesting, and I wanted to kind of bring that to like the back matter too, as well.
Well, especially as a creator that's writing and drawing your own work, I mean, there's insights that you're going to have to the creative process.
Yeah.
That somebody that's just a writer, just an inker, just an artist isn't going to have.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And, and there's like, one of the things about like Start Your Engines, and like I think I made a post about it this week because I found some old sketches. Originally, like the story of Start Your Engines was going to be not really about like the saboteur storyline. This first one was going to be more about the dynamic of father and son, and Marco was going to be still alive. Marco is Dare's dad, and it was going to be a dynamic between those two. And I remember showing some people earlier versions of the script, and it's like, hey man, you know what you're describing and what you're trying to go for is just lost here, and it's not fun. I was like, oh well. I appreciated the honesty, because like, without that, I wouldn't have tried. It's like, well, else, what, asking myself, what can I do to make this more fun? But like, I have a bunch, some sketches of his dad, what his dad was going to look like and be in the story. And Dare also was going to be a lot more clean cut, and like was like playing with the costumes a little bit more. It also, the aesthetic is very like retro futuristic, a little bit that's 60s, but like you're kind of vague in that time period of what you could actually be. Very much like the Batman, the animated series. Yeah.
Right on. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
Oh, no. It happens.
So it absolutely does. It's the damnedest thing. Like, you get people going and it just manners go out the window. But anyway, so let's switch to the what are some of the bonuses or the add-ons or the perks for the Kickstarter itself, depending on the funding levels?
Well, yeah, like your basic rewards from like digital copy of the first issue. I also have, of course, the print copy, the standard cover, which I drew. I also have a really cool Kickstarter exclusive variant by Greg and Fake. They killed it. It was like really this cool. I love it personally. It really catches the vibe of what they've been doing with Santos Sisters, and I love that. And that's a Kickstarter exclusive. There's only 100 copies that I'm putting available for that. And there is a cover C. I drew that one, but that one's a Dave Stevens homage to the Rocketeer.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, I was talked into it last minute by my editor, and part of the thinking, when you're organizing these campaigns is, adding enough reward tiers to kind of like, I don't know, maybe padding is a bad word, but like, add to your Kickstarter to help you reach your goal. You have a few more options on the menu, basically, instead of just hamburger, cheeseburger kind of thing. So the cover C, I guess, is like the cheeseburger with bacon. So
that's all right.
Yeah. Oh, actually, probably the Greg and Fake to me would be the one with bacon, and maybe the homage is the cheeseburger. It doesn't matter, but there's a tier there. There's also a combo pack. I have also original art tiers. I'm probably gonna be adding some because they're about like maybe like close to half of them were claimed already. But I have like my cover A that I drew. I also have a Ninja Turtle cover that I drew for Saturday Morning Adventures available.
Oh, cool.
I also worked on the Legend of Vox Machina graphic novel. It was the Legend of Vox Machina Whitestone Chronicles Cassandra.
Cool.
I love the title, but it is a mouthful to say or try to remember that whole thing. But I had the cover for that available. And I think that's all that in terms of the original ones. I also have like some other add-ons if you want like extra copies of cover A or C. I also offering some sketches as well if you want like a headshot or full body sketch. Some of the type of things you can add on, but I'm definitely gonna be adding to that original art tier too, probably in the next week.
Sweet. So you're 2 days into this campaign. How's your funding going so far?
We are a tiny bit over half right now.
That's awesome.
So the goal, thank you. The goal is 5,000. And that's, most of that is going to be going towards the printing costs, paying the rest of the creators who are working on the book.
Sure.
Between like Sean, the lettering, and I will have an assistant like for like doing the flats for the colors to kind of speed it up a little bit. And then there, of course, there's like a little bit of padding built in there, and also like shipping supplies, which is a whole nother thing. I was having a conversation with Dave Dwanch about, because Dave is the editor, but he's like also my Kickstarter guru because he's done multiple Kickstarters.
He's done a few.
Yeah, he's done a ton. He also, I might like force him to watch this back later, just so so I'm praising him. But he really helped with all the graphics and the organization of the Kickstarter. Because I maybe about 3 weeks ago, I was really like in the weeds per se, and I was like working on stuff. Like, I have my paid work I'm working on, getting the Kickstarter done, and I also made the smart decision of taking on a very short-term job, like a fill-in thing. And I was like, oh, I can spin all these plates. I got all the work done, but you know, when I was talking to Dave, he's like, well, you need help? And that's one of these things I'm like, well, you know, buddy, if you're going to offer to help, just so you know, I'm going to totally say yes. So if this is one of these things where you offer to help, but you didn't really mean it, get out now, because I'm going to take advantage of whatever you are offering. And he originally, he was just going to do some graphics, and then he went like crazy in the best way possible. And he made my life so much easier to help out in that aspect. I appreciate him so much as a editor friend. He really saved my behind on that. And I think, you know, part of why I maybe got a project we love is the way the page looks. And that's probably because of Dave.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've had Dave Dwanch on the show before, and I hesitate to say that I know what we were talking about, but I suspect it was one of his Kickstarters. So, you talk to Dave, you tell him he's welcome to come back anytime, and we'll.
Oh, he's definitely going to take you up on that. I not to speak too much out of school, but he's going to have another probably campaign in October, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I'll keep it secret because I know he's teasing stuff, and I'm not gonna blab. I'm not gonna be that big of a mouth.
Speak out of school. I get it.
Yeah.
So, let me just we're starting to wind the hour down, but one thing we didn't talk about, and I like to ask this question because it helps people listening get a feel for who you are as a creator. But what comics or creators have inspired or influenced you?
Oh, so, you know, I actually listed some, you know, because they definitely influenced Start Your Engines as well. But some of like the biggest ones, I guess, you know, like Alex Toth, and that's more so like that storytelling aspect that, you know, to go back to what I was talking about earlier. It's such an important thing. I feel like a lot of people can draw something like incredibly well, but can you like make a compelling story on it or a clear story from it? You know, so Alex Toth for sure is on that like Mount Rushmore. I'd also have to say a little bit like Will Eisner, because he has really good, like I still have a lot of his books on cartooning, like probably behind me on the bookcase. And you know, that goes and adds to what I keep talking about, you know, that overall overall storytelling, because these characters are your actors per se, you know, and you have to get them to act. You know, so I like doing over exaggerated stuff, and those, you know, some of his books on cartooning in general are perfect for that. Chris Samney is another artist. I'm trying to think of who else, because I could go like on a laundry list. But let's stick with Alex Toth, Will Eisner, and Samney. Oh, you know what? A name dropped earlier. Phil for sure.
Oh, Phil Hester, heck yeah.
And Phil has influenced my art a lot more, because I naturally kind of always like done more of a kind of a cartoonier style, and then like when I was working on stuff for like a lot of stuff for Devil's Due or a few other publishers, I was doing stuff that you know, whatever style they were looking for, I was trying to mimic kind of thing. So I wasn't really doing my own thing, and that was when I was doing Start Your Engines. Like, no, I'm gonna try and draw like myself again. Yeah, you know, I was trying to find my way back. And eventually I kind of did. But what really helped was start inking Phil, because I got back to a cartoonier thing. But one thing I always thought, you know, I always thought there was something missing. And one of the things is that Phil does really well is the shadows and the mixture of positive and negative space with, like, you know, his high contrast work. It's not like Mike Mignola's stuff at all. I actually, if I was going to describe his work, it's like Jack Kirby mixed with a little bit of Mignola and then a dash of Will Eisner.
I can see
all together. Yeah, and you know, that's really helped me. And another reason, because even before I worked with Phil, I've never told him this, but I definitely have like Pinterest boards of some of his older work, and that's mostly for the compositions. He used to do some he still does some amazing compositions. Again, engaging the reader and just making it fun and just kind of just like sucking you into the story the way he has some of these characters. Sometimes he'll have the character, like it'll be a full figure on the character, and the character will have a handout, and it'll cast shadow, and then underneath that in the shadow there'll be more characters for the next panel or something. And it's really like cool how his brain works and how he his vision works there. So
he's a
I had to round it out.
So that's awesome. And like I said, I asked that question because I think it gives listeners a feel for who you are as a creator and by naming your influences. So congrats, you're in rarefied air. But
it feels good. It feels good.
It should, man. You're out there doing your thing on your terms,
Yeah.
And shoot, you can't go wrong with that. Even if you fall on your face, at least you tried, right?
Oh yeah, I hate sounding like a broken record or repeating things over and over, but you learn with everything. Like even if knock on wood, if something happens with the campaign in a negative way, it's gonna be a bummer, but I'm gonna learn from it. What to go do next time, because this book is gonna come out regardless. Like I was talking with someone else before. It's like this book is gonna come out regardless.
Absolutely.
But I'll definitely learn from the process, and that's the thing. It's all is, you have to, even if you hit a speed bump, you got to learn from it.
There you go. Well, Travis, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. I wish Chad could have made it. He texted me. He had a little bit of a family emergency break loose while we were recording. It's nothing dire, but it's something he had to tend to right away. But the Kickstarter funding now is for Start Your Engines. It is a very, very cool book. It is racing and Johnny Quest and dinosaurs and all the things you love mixed together in one awesome flambe.
Yeah, you put it in the blender, and then you blend it some more. And then the color looks bad, and then you put some food coloring in there to salvage it. And that Start Your Engines. Oh no, that makes it sound awful, but it's fun. It's fun.
There you have it. And Travis, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Travis_Hemel. That's HYMEL. Art of Travis Hemel on Facebook. Again, that's HYMEL. I'm also on Twitter. You can just at Travis_Hemel. I don't really use Twitter too much anymore, but you can also find me on Blue Sky. You just search Travis Hemel and you'll be able to find me there. And also, if you're looking for the campaign, just search Start Your Engines. You'll be able to find it on there. You can also see 8 preview pages from the first story of the book. And also, if you're a backer of the campaign, I will be putting some images very soon from the second story, showing some of the people, the early pages of that book as well.
There you go.
There you go.
Get out there and back a good comic, folks. And thank you, Travis Hemel, for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. It was our pleasure, my pleasure, to talk with you. And thank you all for listening. I say this semi-regularly now, but it's a tough world out there right now. But you can help make it better by getting out there and doing something better, something good, to make it a shinier place. So get out there and do your good, be your best you can be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we will be back next week to talk, to have our annual talk about Eisner nominees, because San Diego is coming up. So
I could be your boots on the. I'll be your boots on the ground. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be walking around. I could be your quasi reporter on the floor.
We might take you up on that. You never know. Welcome to the Comic Watch team. Yeah. Until next time, folks, you can catch us at comic-watch.com or here on the Comic Watchers show. Until next time, do awesome things. Thank you.